All right, hey Scott, really great to be able to interview you here today. I know you work for EXP, but let's get some background on you and talk about what you do currently, position wise, but a little bit of background on how you got to where you are.
Hi, Annie. Good morning. Scott Forcino. I'm from Westchester, New York. And people say that no one gets into real estate gets into you. And that was based on an introduction from a long time ago. Someone thought this might be a fit for me and got into my blood. So I backed into the real estate business as a lawyer, starting to close transactions for big firms and small firms, Long Island, Westchester, Manhattan, represent banks, buyers, and sellers. Became an attorney for a title company, which we oversaw, probably 5,000 deals a year in the metro area. Then I realized that the realtors are making more of an impact with clients and really getting all the accolades and having more fun, and really had a better chance to be closer to families and watch their success. So that drew me into it.
Right. I mean, that's awesome because what it actually sets you up to do is a lot of what you do today, which is be a huge asset to your client base, whether they're buyers or sellers, but especially for the sellers, and to the community around you. So, how do you perform your role of realtor, in a way that sort of quarterbacks the entire transaction? What is your role there? You've described it to me before as a quarterback. How does that work?
Well, we just got a good 1 or 2 weekends of playoff football, so it's relevant right now. And I've been around a lot of great realtors, friends, and colleagues who their experience has been to surround themselves with the right team. And that means whether it's working hours and non-working hours, you need the right professionals that you can trust. A realtor should work closely with a lender, of course, a title company, insurance company, home inspector, and a mover, stager, anyone who can work well within the transaction and actually on the physical house to make the client comfortable and confident in their success. And I've done that with some great people in all these years. I'm also a big believer in being a connector. I think that no one can really benefit unless others benefit. I see all too often those agent referral partners, the lender and the title company, home inspector, are really the hub of the wheel, and everyone else is just a spoke. I believe in this being much more like a stew where people are working together, bringing their strengths and weaknesses. And it's my goal, and has always been the practice, to let all the parties and all the players know each other.
So what's the best way to, if you're creating the stew and you're putting that recipe together, to take that analogy, and I know you love your analogies, so we'll stick with that one for a second. If you're building this stew and you're putting all the recipe pieces together, you're getting the ingredients out on the table for the most successful real estate venture that you can possibly put together. How do you leverage all of those ingredients together into the best tasting stew, as it were?
Well, first, I think you have to facilitate communication where people have no qualms or problems with reaching out to each other. I've seen many times where the individuals in the transaction have no contact. And that, to me, that's crazy. You're all serving one client. I think you have to create a place or comfortable zone where people can communicate to get the client satisfied and professionally served. That's the first thing. Second thing is you have to pick the people who are connected to their own resource service providers, where if, let's say, a lender is really comfortable with an attorney, and that would make, in New York State where lawyers handle the transactions, that greatly greases the rails to get something done. I think there has to be some degree of autonomy that the players have, where they all bring something to this table where the stew is served. I mean, everyone has their strengths, everyone has different qualifications, and everyone has greater resources at their disposal. It really should take a strong village to get a client to their goal.
Right. Well, and so the way in which you've constructed a lot of what you do is really appealing in my life, in my world of how I look at things, because it is greatest good for the greatest number. You've built something that serves the community. You've built a model that not only gets that communication running and that forum of free open communication running, but sort of a best of breed, local famous type of idea rolling into this as well. So how do you facilitate that? What does that look like? And how does that help each other sort of reward each other along the way?
Well, thank you for asking. Fortunately, before even this COVID pandemic, people had moved their lives online so much, whether it's paying bills, whether it's shopping. Of course, that was common. However, communication became critical through social media, expressing yourself and connecting with others during COVID. And during the pendency of COVID, I realized that I was suffering from a problem without getting out to any networking events or even be able to get in front of people where I needed more exposure. And because everyone's walking around with their mobile device and is on social media, I thought that a good idea was to put together a single place dedicated for each individual realtor where they can invite their contacts and their service providers and their local business community to have a networking business development forum. And that's really been a big savior. I think that being local is important. All you hear now is support local business. And I think, this type of success is derived only from a place of contribution where others are benefiting by being involved. And there's no friction. It's just you're not asking someone to jump on this website called Facebook. They're already there. We bring them into a smaller room within Facebook where people are complimented by being invited. And then they're from there leaves a big opportunity for people to gain some trust and gain exposure with local referral sources.
Well, and one of the things I love about it, Scott, and that's really a great answer, but the last part you just said, it was gain the local resources. It's not just the local resources. I mean, let's face it, we can Google, or we can, if we're old school, we can pick up the yellow pages and find the local resources, quote unquote. But these are the trusted, valued, known local resources that your realtor who you trusted to sell you a house is working with. And there are going to be other things that are outside of your house that they could be involved in. So this is a community-wide type of net that can be cast. So when you've got that kind of reach and you've got that kind of pull in the local community, you're going to end up meeting who you should know. I guess let's juxtapose how realtors have marketed to kind of what you're doing these days. Because one of the reasons we wanted to have you and talk to you about this, Scott, is because you're doing the marketing in such a very different way than what most of the realtors are doing. A lot of folks are still doing the morning meetings and everything from the door hangers to the newsletters to the things that work at 2%, and something that works at 2% is not working very well. It might work, but it doesn't work well. So talk about a little bit about how what you've done marketing wise has really helped boost your business.
Well, thank you for asking. An old boss of mine used to say that everything works and nothing doesn't. So if you do nothing, you're going to expect no results. But if you do something, you're going to get some results. I don't think, however, that that's enough in the day and age. If to do that would be wasting a great resource. As I said, we're on these phones. We're during our waking hours, whether it's for productivity or it's for entertainment or for communication. So why not, if certain platforms like Facebook and others offer you a chance to provide a digital place where someone can promote themselves, why not use that? Well, I think that the best way to promote yourself is by introducing others. And I think a great approach through life is to shine the light on someone else, feature someone else who is worthy, who is capable and competent and interested to those people that they could meet, and further have those people bring their trusted contacts aboard. So we have a bigger pie. We have a bigger opportunity for others to meet through the power of loose connections and the law of reciprocity, where maybe if I spread enough, here's another analogy, seeds like Johnny Appleseed over your shoulder, something works out. I think it's an approach that really should be taken. And it is free. And the time is going to go by whether you do it or not. So why not benefit others?
Well, and if we pick up on that analogy for a second, Scott, I'll see if I can pick up what you're putting down again. And those seeds get spread not just into the local community and all that area, but they also are going to get spread far and wide, because Facebook isn't just local community; it's everywhere. So eventually, that group can expand to it's like going. The way I think about it, once I heard how you're marketing and what you're doing with your marketing side of things, to me it makes sense that it's like going to a meeting with 20 people that you are both very much assimilated to, that are part of your, to use the term sphere of influence, right? They're part of your sphere, but it's like being able to talk to the couple thousand people they're connected to at the same time in that meeting, or in that, and then the meeting's 24/7, 365. So what I think has happened here is this is a revolutionary way to market, and it's one of the reasons why it's so important for you to be able to have your message heard and for you to be able to talk about what you're doing. But I want to shift gears a quick little bit here, take a few minutes and talk about, there's some things that you've done in representing the sellers out there, and especially the sellers in today's market, because we've talked about this, avoiding bad buyers. I want to make sure we talk about how you help with that, because there's a lot of things to look for when you've got a buyer, positioning themselves. How do you make sure that you're going to get somebody there that is a good buyer for your seller?
Well, I think the easiest thing that every broker who is performing at a high level would do was have a buyer's offer be weighed against all their qualifications. By that, I mean having the lender with whom you associate with consent of the buyer, if they want to participate in the negotiation, check their credit, check their income, and check their assets. And those things are reasonable in today's market where there are multiple offers and offers way above asking. Those buyers that are serious about gaining a home for their family would be willing to supply matters that are non-confidential. If you want to show what you earn, what you have as far as assets, and what is your credit reporting, credit report, credit score, those lenders assist in that regard. There are also others where when someone has a glitch on a credit, can they be directed to a credit repair company? There are also others that there's something with regard to insurance, depending on the property itself. If when a seller should be willing to show that a property does not have outstanding insurance claims, it is an inspector can show that the property is in the condition it is, so that once you're in a contract, you're not surprised about the roof. If there is a seller's inspection where you can hand it to a prospective buyer and say, take a look, here's the property, warts and all. So in a sale, a seller and a listing agent can easily involve three or four people to show the buyer that we're capable of proceeding, are you? And that can really weed out the potential problems.
So Scott, it's interesting because I know your background was, in law, and the approach you take is actually almost like you're setting up a case. You're setting up the let's show it, let's prove it, let's make sure everything's in place, and let's make sure everybody can be content so that we can move things forward. But unlike in law, where I always have heard it said that if either side leaves in a negotiation in the courtroom, if both sides are unhappy, it's a fair settlement. In this case, it's going to be that both sides are happy and it's a fair settlement. So let's talk about what you see as far as outcomes for clients, and some of the let's talk about maybe the best experience you've ever had with closing something.
The best experience I ever had was a family that needed better housing for, sad story, for some children with disabilities. One of the children had a huge personal injury settlement of over $1 million. The problem was there was a trust where the child couldn't touch the money until he or she was 21 and the child was 5. So we spent time with some really sharp colleagues. This was a case in Manhattan where the firm and I successfully, you might not like the term, invaded the trust, where it was shown to be a valuable enough or strong enough reason that trust should be tapped into now, so that the family has 15 to 20 years of a better living experience. And it didn't serve the family well for this child to have a bad situation and then wake up at 21 with $2 million. So that was really, I was proud, and it took a lot. And sometimes it was really frustrating where the letter of the law said that 21 was 21, and it wasn't, I was the least part of it, but there was some amazing work that was done to get this family really positive living experience.
Well, and that comes back to the original point, and I know we've only got a minute or so left here, but that comes back to the original point you made of it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes the power of loose connections, the ability to know those folks in your network and everything else. So if someone's looking to talk to you about what you've been doing, what's the best way for them to reach you, Scott?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Scott Forcino, and there's S Forcino, Forcino, at plugintro.com, plugintro.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Scott. Thank you. I know there's a lot more we could cover. Unfortunately, we're trying to keep these, in a 20-minute segment. So really appreciate you taking the time. This has been awesome. And congratulations on doing some marketing that is just way above and beyond, and being a realtor who thinks about things at the level you do to be able to solve problems like the ones you just talked about.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.